Hi, I'm Michelle Begue with a look at what's happening in Latin America now. But first, our news trivia. What country is home to this unconventional piece of art? A Tesla crushed by a stonehead? We'll have the answer later. Parts of Brazil are scorching under record heat. At the beginning of the week, Rio de Janeiro residents experienced overpowering temperatures as the thermal sensation touched 62.3 degrees Celsius. What does this mean? While the actual max temperature in the city was at 42 degrees, it felt like 62 degrees considering the humidity levels. Citizens say they fear it could only get worse, with unsolved issues like deforestation in the Amazon. Experts say climate change has driven a deadly wave of heat across the Americas, from Mexico to Colombia and Chile. Now let's go to my colleague Al Baverstock in Mexico, who has a special report.
Nearly 100,000 Mexicans are currently considered missing as the country's trend of forced disappearance worsens. The country's interior minister announced that since a nationwide search began last year, 15,000 cases have been solved, with either the individuals located or their deaths confirmed. However, forced disappearance is an increasingly common criminal phenomenon. The absence of a body and criminal evidence makes murder or foul play difficult to prove and only leaves behind the agony of loved ones denied the closure that a confirmed death signifies. With over 40,000 people reported missing over the past 5 years alone, Mexico's search for its disappeared continues.
Argentina came up on the first 100 days of Javier Milei's presidency. The country is grappling through protests, rising poverty, and slowing inflation. A mix of hope and concerns give rise to a lot of social tensions. These images are of social groups demanding the reestablishment of food deliveries to public community kitchens. The Social Observatory of the Catholic University found that poverty has risen from 49% in December to 57% in January. And the United Nations says the child poverty rate is expected to climb from 62 to 70%. Meanwhile, the government is touting their first fiscal achievements as the country experiences inflation drops. In December, it was 25%. Then in January, it fell to 20%. And in February, it marked 13.2%. President Milei says this is thanks to strict budgetary discipline. Colombia will suspend its month-long ceasefire with the armed group known by its acronym EMC. The government's reason is increasing violence in the regions where this armed group operates. These images are from a department called Cauca, where indigenous communities question peace talks. Carmelina Yule, an indigenous leader, was assassinated on March 16th, which led to the government to suspend the truce in 3 regions of the country. These citizens say that with the suspension of the truce, they hope the government will turn their eyes to the community and not militarize, but begin a dialogue about what their needs really are. Now let's check out what stories we're following for next week. We are following Haiti's security crisis that residents describe as having no end in sight. This week brought on some of the most violent days in the spiraling gang violence. The UN has estimated that because of the closure of hospitals in the capital, more than 3,000 pregnant women are at risk of giving birth without maternity care. Because of the gang violence, fueled by political elite vying for control, there are more than 360,000 internally displaced people. Food, safe shelter, and water are increasingly hard to find, and the aid response has been painfully slow. And now the answer to our news trivia. The answer is A. In Mexico City's cool, artsy neighborhood known as the Roma District stands a very unconventional piece of art. A $40,000 Tesla electric car crushed by an enormous Olmec-inspired stonehead. The creator is Mexican artist Chavis Marmol, who says the piece symbolizes mother culture imposing itself on technology. And of course, it's meant to provoke Tesla owner and billionaire Elon Musk. The artist says while the car may be desired, it is still a product of a capitalist system. And that's it for this week. We'll see you again soon on Latin America Now.